The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced its nominees for the class of 2022. As always, the list includes some people who deserve to be inducted, as well as some head-scratchers. In this week's episode of Prisoners of Rock and Roll, we're talking about the artists who have been snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We put together a list of 10 artists that we think should be nominated. Then we're going to let our listeners vote on which 3 should get in. Plus, we're going to send a song to the electric chair, talk about the death of Mark Lanigan, and chat with Jesse Jackson from the Set Lusting Bruce podcast in our Visiting Hours segment. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Prisoners of Rock and Roll, episode number 36. Thanks for listening. My name is Bruce Kramer. I'm the man with a microphone, and I'm going to use that microphone tonight to introduce my co-hosts, friends, and fellow music storytellers, Doug McCusker and Ryan McCusker.
How's it going, everybody?
Are you rocking?
To quote Winston from Ghostbusters, we got the tools, and we got the talent. Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored. I put so much time into thinking that stupid shit.
Nobody steps on a church in my town.
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia, and we are so happy to be part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Man, again, we're doing a second annual show. It's our second annual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame show.
I'm tired of all the bullshit with the real Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I said, screw it. Let's have the Prisoners Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man. So we said the list of nominees are out. We didn't want to go through and just talk about everyone because we did that last year, and we can't.
It's the same old every year. It's the same thing. It's the same guys who didn't get in last year.
Yeah,
we're putting them back in again.
I can't play another Kate Bush song.
No, or was it Dionne Warwick?
Yeah.
God, what are they doing over there?
Yeah,
dude, they should make it like baseball. Like after 5 years of 10 years of eligibility, they should knock you right off.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
So, so last year we said we were going to put ourselves on the voting committee and put the people in. And this year we're like, we'll put ourselves on the nominating committee. And we'll come out with people that, so we have 10 acts that we nominated. And then we're going to let our fans vote on who we think should get in. So it's a little bold of us that we think we have enough fans.
I think
we're going to get 10.
Yeah. Did you guys have any initial thoughts on the nominees this year who you think should get in? Did you?
I just thought it was a lot of shit again.
So it's the same old all over again.
Again, they ignore bands that been around for a long time that accomplish huge things in music, and they still get ignored by these so-called experts.
Yeah. I'll read them off real quick just in case somebody listening hasn't looked at it. So Beck, his first time, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, Devo, Duran Duran, Eminem, The Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Fela Kuti, the MC5, the New York Dolls, Dolly Parton, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick.
I like that Beck's on there. I don't know if he'll actually get in this year, but I like the fact that's like if there's a breath of fresh air in this whole thing, that's it.
Yeah, I think he'll get in eventually.
But is he what's representing rock and roll? I mean, besides you got like the MC5 on there.
Yeah, but
rock and roll.
Yeah, but that's like it's the '90s, so it's a form of rock and roll.
Like Dionne Warwick, man, again.
Yeah. I went through and the 5 that I picked were Devo. They were on my list last year. The Eurythmics. I think Annie Lennox picked up the torch where David Bowie put it down, like all the androgyny. The MC5, I was like, they're the ones on this list. I'm like, how the fuck are they not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet? I put Dolly Parton because I'm like, there's going to be a woman.
Sure.
And Dolly Parton is like,
Dolly.
She's in that Betty White, Alice Cooper, everybody loves her. Yeah. And I put Tribe Called Quest because I'm like, hip hop is in.
Right.
That is the way it's going to go. And Tribe has just been around for a long time.
I think Tribe should be in before Eminem. That's just me. That's just me.
If you're doing it
in a perfect world,
Q-Tip's the man, dude.
No doubt. Yeah. But I will say this: I bet you guys that Lionel Richie will get in this year because he's on television. He's a TV personality. He's on one of the biggest TV shows in the country.
What's he on?
America's Idol, apparently.
Oh, God.
He's going to get in.
He was the one that I was like, really? He's not. Like,
Well, he's a big deal. He was a big deal in
He's
the
got
80s.
some great songs, dude.
Yeah.
Besides being in the Commodores,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
he had some like dancing on the ceiling. What
Hello.
was bigger than that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. All that stuff. So I guess we'll find out, man. We'll see what happens. But so we decided that said we've got 10 people. The only
10
real
bands.
10 artists. The only rule was that they weren't a finalist this year. So we've got 10 that are not on that list. So I think the one we're going to start with is Motley Crue.
Motley
Of course.
Crue should be in the Hall of Fame.
Our show that was our first episode way 16 months ago.
Wow.
October 2021, man. The first show we did was about Motley Crue and should they be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was like, as we were talking about what song we were going to play coming out of the monologue, that Doug was like, didn't we play that last time? I was like, we didn't even play clips back then.
Yeah,
we
that's
didn't know
how
how
far
to do
we
it.
came. That's how far we came.
Different kind of show back then.
We've evolved so much.
But yeah, Motley Crue, let's go back to that. Like, yeah, they should be in there. If there's any justice, okay, they've been around forever. They're a household name. They have more songs than you can count that are huge songs. And the fan base. They have the fan base.
Yeah, they got the record sales.
Mm-hmm. That whole era of music just doesn't get
I think
looked
it just,
at by
I
the
just
rock.
think it gets snubbed just because of its, I guess, the plasticness.
Yeah, the
of how-
spandex, the hair.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about this in the first episode. I asked a year and a half ago, I was like, does all the, they are shitbags, right? They're not
Sure,
nice guys.
maybe not Mick Mars. Mick Mars is cool.
Yeah, but the other ones, all the scandals and the sex stuff and the DUIs and the drugs, and it's like just in the era of the Me Too stuff, would they even get in? And I have no idea.
We talked about that last time, and they really did treat women awful.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to episode 1 of Prisoners of Rock and Roll and hear us talk for about an hour all about Motley Crue and whether they should be in the Hall of Fame. And we all three of us agree absolutely they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what's not to put them in for? They are what rock and roll was about.
Yeah, man, especially when they were making songs like this. There's no way he's hitting those notes.
I was going to
this
say,
summer.
can you imagine
No
Vince
way.
doing like the song he gets to do to induct himself?
Yeah.
He'll be phoning it in the whole time. He'll be putting the microphone out in the crowd. He'll be like, shout people like, I don't know this.
There's no way he's hitting those notes this summer when they come around with Poison and Def Leppard.
But like to me, Motley is all about Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
Vince.
Sure.
Vince, he's like the. I don't know if he's like a front man. I think he's just the singer of Motley Crue.
Just a placeholder that somebody's got to be up there with the microphone.
Well,
He did kill a guy, so he just did all the controversy in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, he had karma come back and get him. There was a few things that happened in his life. There was some tragedy.
Oh yeah, the shit with like his daughter dying.
Yeah, that's
it's
tragic.
horrible.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
That was absolutely horrible. But they should be in there. It's deserving. Absolutely, they've been through hell and back dancing on glass.
Hey, Professor.
Yes, sir.
How many albums they sell?
They've sold over 100 million records worldwide. They have 7 platinum albums, 22 top 40 hits, 6 top 20 pop singles, 3 Grammy nominations, 4 New York Times bestsellers, and they got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
That's a hell of a credential,
And that's all them. That's from their website, so they're happy to tell you how great they are.
No, and it's deserving to be in. Maybe the Hall of Fame should really look at this and be like, oh, maybe these guys should be in here.
Well, look what they accomplished. Like 4 scumbags from Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
just some hairspray and some fireworks.
Right.
Some fire, some Satan stuff, you know?
I mean, you got to every couple of years, like the ground zero for music, like moves around, right? It was Seattle, and
Yeah.
it was Memphis, and the Sun Records, and at some point, man, it was L.A. and
LA.
they were
Always a
part
big
of the
deal.
scene.
It was a big deal.
The Sleaze Rock.
The Sleaze Rock,
Yeah, like the Cat House and the Whiskey Go Go.
Right.
And the Rainbow,
which is also what like Van Halen came out
Sure.
of, and,
A lot of bands, yeah.
like the hair metal just gets overlooked because it's got, because of the look and all the shit. And we did a whole episode on hair bands too. Yeah, they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I got to get my tickets for this summer.
Are we
going? Are we going?
I don't know.
I'm going by myself. Bruce, I'll meet you there.
You can sit with us, man.
That's cool. But the one thing, Motley Crue, they put a hell of a rock concert on. You go see them, you know you're seeing Motley.
Oh, yeah, dude, all the pyrotechnics and all
upside
down
drums
and all that other kind of stuff. Not every band likes that. Like, I don't know if we're going to get to it in the music news because we've got a lot to talk about.
Thing?
But yeah, man, Eddie Vedder. Did you hear all that shit?
Eddie Vedder and Nikki Sixx?
Yeah, go ahead.
They're both playing the media against each other.
Yeah.
They're like two smart guys.
Yeah, Eddie Vedder just played in. They played in Jersey. They played in Newark, and he was like pointing. I guess Chad Smith was playing drum. And was like, "Oh, this drum set doesn't need to go upside down. It just makes the right sound, and we don't need all that crap."
I think it's all fun between those guys. Like just like Ryan said, they're using the media as a tool to just sell albums or whatever.
I hope so.
Ed's out there like, I'm on tour. I have a new album out, and Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx is like, we're Motley Crue, dude.
We need all the press we can get.
Right.
Nikki Sixx is just like good. Any press is good press.
He's been in the game long enough,
I think Motley Crue is what rock and roll is about,
or a form of it anyway. Yeah,
what aggression, being against things.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man.
That was their gig.
That was their whole thing.
They did something
Live fast,
different.
die young, leave a good-looking corpse.
They did something different though. When everybody was doing like punk rock, and even like the version of metal, like the English metal that was going on,
right?
Yeah, Nikki Sixx definitely had a vision of what he wanted this band to be.
He took a little bit of Alice Cooper. He took a little bit of Kiss. He took some fireworks, like I said, and he lit himself on fire. He's like Daffy Duck. I'll do anything, I'll blow myself up.
The Daffy Duck of rock and roll. All right, man. I don't know if there's probably not that whole lot to say about it. It's like, just go listen to the episode we did.
I think it's like a
the slam dunk.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think they've ever been nominated.
There's something wrong there.
I don't think so. Let me look.
They probably pissed too many people off over the year.
Sure.
They did. They were in the fan,
a lot. Yeah.
They were in the fan vote one time. And Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx swears that they're banned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's not hard to believe.
He said that they won the fan vote, and then they didn't get in anyway.
You walk into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they have this mural, and it's the whiskey. And on the whiskey, it says Motley Crue and Kicks. Mm-hmm. That's what it says. That's the only Motley Crue thing they have is like a replica of a marquee at the whiskey, and it says Motley Crue on it. That's the only thing they have in the Hall of Fame.
But like you said, they probably pissed off too many people. They burned too many bridges.
But maybe they are they're against, like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I read in Nikki Sixx's book, he was like, I dig John Bon Jovi. I think he's a great guy, but I hate his fucking band. He's everything I'm against.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just think Nikki Sixx and the guys, they keep it real. They keep the real drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, Nikki Sixx says that somebody from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame told them that they would never get in because of how they acted. And they're like, well, we don't want to be in it anyway. Which,
sure.
I don't want to be in a stupid club anyway.
But there's a lot of bands out there who do not care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at all.
No, a lot of people don't show up.
Yeah.
A lot of the famous guys don't show up. Like Eddie Van Halen didn't show up for being inducted.
Steve Miller gave one of the greatest. I had to pay $1,000 to go to my own goddamn. It's just this awesome.
He's like, I can't afford to bring my wife to this show.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I guess next on the outline you put together, Ryan, dude, was Ozzy, and Ozzy not in as a solo artist.
Yes, that is a.
That's crazy. He did more, don't get me wrong, Black Sabbath is an amazing band, but Ozzy had such an amazing career after Black Sabbath when, they just toss him oh, this guy's a clown and he's a drug addict, which is true, and he's self-destructive and whatever. But look at the songs that he put out. Look at the career that he had by himself.
So if he got in solo, man, does his band go with him? Does Zakk Wylde get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Or Randy Rhoads?
Randy's already in.
Randy's already in.
Now, what's up with that? They could put Randy in, but they're not going to put Ozzy in.
Randy was in that sidekick kind of category.
Yeah, like
a honorary mention.
Yeah, it was last year,
like that.
Wasn't it?
It was last year.
Which I think is pretty awesome.
Sure.
You know, to put him in along with, like, you know, Jamerson. He's in there by himself.
Yeah.
You know, great bass player of Motown.
Ozzy was another one that when we were coming up with this list of all the names, I was like, shit, right? He's not in as a solo artist.
Yeah.
But
do you think they look at, well, he's in there with Black Sabbath, so that's good enough?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they put him in, like, with Motley. Like, the only thing this guy did was piss his pants and bite heads off of things.
Animals, and was a lunatic. But he's also, I mean, he's out of these guys that we're going to talk about, man, he's a pop culture icon just because of the reality show and all the shit that his wife did, and just. But
I will say this though, Ozzy wouldn't be Ozzy without Sharon, and I think I said that before.
I
think she's a huge part of his career.
I think she's the reason why he's not getting rock and roll fame.
Why she pisses off everybody?
Yeah,
she's that cutthroat businesswoman.
Yeah, she totally probably cut everybody's balls off in the Hall of Fame committee.
Yeah,
let's play some Ozzy.
All right, what do you want to hear?
Breaking all the rules.
Here you go. This song clip has been flagged by YouTube as a potential copyright violation, so enjoy this royalty-free smooth jazz song instead. You can hear the unedited version on your favorite podcast platform.
That was like one of the first records I ever got was No Rest for the Wicked, Ozzy Osbourne.
I mean, he scared the shit out of everybody, right? Because this is his solo albums were coming out around the time all like the Satanic Panic was going on, and you're going to listen to stuff backwards and kill your parents and Dungeons and Dragons and all this stuff.
He was blamed for a suicide. You know what I mean? In his career,
right?
You know, he was blamed for it.
Professor.
I don't remember the details of it, but I do remember him taking all kinds of crap that he was
saying like something was played backwards and there's an effect in the song, and it's like and he said this in his like behind the music. He's never said like some kid thought he said get the gun and shoot. He's like, I never said that. He's like, there is an effect in there, but I never said shoot.
I just think that kid was way on drugs.
Sure,
and he was suicidal. His parents were probably assholes.
Yeah,
you know.
Listen to Ozzy's album Suicide Solution and committed suicide with a .22 caliber handgun.
How many albums did Ozzy sell?
Well, it's funny that you should ask. So, collectively, he sold 100 million, and that's with Sabbath and by himself. As a solo artist, he has sold Blizzard of Oz has sold almost 14 million copies. No More Tears has sold over 8. He sold a lot of fucking records.
Yeah, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. It makes no sense. Like, I'm telling you, Sharon talked so much shit that she could not get him in.
But everybody loves Ozzy. Like, you know, from the reality TV show in the last 20 years. Everybody loves Ozzy.
Everybody loves Ozzy, but Ozzy lets her do all the talking for him.
Well, we all heard him talk, so, like, maybe that's not a bad idea.
His solo material, he sold 51.5 million albums.
That's
so
a lot,
collectively with Sabbath, it's over 115 million now as of last year.
Yeah, he belongs in there.
And the guy can go anywhere and sell out.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
He you know, when did we go see him? A couple years ago, and he said he was not playing anymore.
Yeah.
And it was sold out.
Yeah, it was.
It was a great show.
One of my, and Ozzy's, you know, one thing I heard one story, he was on like Stern or something like that, and he's a big Rolling Stone fan. The Beatles is the reason why he wanted to become a musician. So he's walking to he only met Keith Richards one time, and he's walking somewhere, and here comes Keith Richards, and Keith Richards just looks at him, walks by, like, hey man, look, a living legend. And
really?
And he was just like blown away by that.
Yeah,
you know?
very cool.
Yeah, it's like a living legend. Like, this guy puts me to shame.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like the people that listen to him now, or like you see him on TV now, he's like this lovable, goofy,
sure.
You know, and it's like,
TV
but he's like,
he's not the Prince of Darkness anymore.
The Prince of Darkness.
He's like the Prince of Candyland.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like the Prince of Darkness ride at the fair in October.
Yeah,
the church fair.
Like that. I don't know. It did that TV show give him another career.
Absolutely.
It kept him irrelevant.
Sure.
But it's a double-edged sword, man. You know.
Well, he's still on TV. Him and Jack have, like, they're traveling through America or something like that in, like, an RV or something like that.
That was like one of the first like reality shows that
Yeah.
where,
That was the
a
first one.
musician, yeah, would,
It
like,
was
expose
groundbreaking.
himself.
Yeah.
I remember having it on at McCusker's.
Yeah, we always watched
on
it,
like
yeah.
a Tuesday night. I think.
Yeah, and you just forget. It's easy to forget just like the music that he made and how it scared the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
He was, taking all kinds of crap from biting the head off of birds and bats and
Yeah.
all
And then
kinds
he
of other
has like
shit.
all these dogs and all these cats and all these birds
This
that he has.
crazy,
All
right?
these
He's just
pets. and-
crazy family life.
But all said and done, he has fantastic solo music by himself. He like No More Tears, amazing
has.
album. Like
That whole
No Rest
album
for
was
the
great.
Wicked.
Yeah.
He always
Oz-
had a great band behind him.
It was kind of like Alice Cooper. He always has the best playing for him. You know what I mean?
he had one of the greatest rock and roll drummers, underrated rock and roll drummers, is Randy Costello.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he died a few years ago of cancer. He totally was a big influence on my drumming.
Yeah.
I think he was awesome. And then he had Jakey Lee in the band. He was very big. His sound, those first couple records without Randy, the sound was huge.
Yeah, and he played. Zach Wilde was playing with him for a long time.
Roger
He went on to
Arlo.
do all this kind of stuff.
Rocciarello played bass for him for a long time. The dude from Faith No More played drums for him for a long time. You know?
Yeah, man. He absolutely deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I don't know if he's ever. I'm going to look if he's ever been nominated.
But you know, though, I feel maybe in his mind that he thinks that Black Sabbath is good enough because he really does feel like Sabbath is his family. Like, you know,
But he's a humble guy.
He's-
I read
yeah.
Ozzy's book over the years, and he's just happy to be in as
He's happy to
as
be
just
anywhere.
to be anywhere.
Yeah.
To be in the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
next to the Beatles, everything like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, he as his own person, as his own thing, is surviving rock and roll all these
Yeah.
years.
That's a good way to
and
put
what
it.
truly what rock and roll is, Ozzy is.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he wrote a letter when Sabbath was nominated. He wrote a letter saying they didn't want it, take us off, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame said, "No, you don't make that decision. We do." And they were like, "So tough shit." Which maybe they, once they put him in, they were like, "Okay, you're never going to go in as a solo artist." Then they don't want to deal with that embarrassment.
Why
But-
is that embarrassment? I don't understand what they're. Maybe because there's a new regime now. Maybe that will change. But I don't see the embarrassment of it.
Like we keep on saying this new regime of thing. Look at the jokes that they're putting in now.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
They're not doing
it's the same
shit.
shit. It's the same. It's a lot of shit from last year.
That's why we have our own show, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we're having our own award show. Bruce, you look amazing in that tuxedo.
Yes, I did get all dialed
know,
up just for this.
You
So
know, the champagne glass.
yes,
And everything.
very very sophisticated to talk about this.
And our awards look amazing. They look like Wow Wow coffee
Wall of
cups.
coffee mugs. With,
Yeah.
So I'm going to put upside down on a beer can and duct tape it together, and we'll spray paint it gold.
We're gonna call it the Warden. We'll call it like how they have the Oscars
Wardens.
as like
The
you know,
Wardens?
Yeah, the Wardens.
That's our awards. The Wardens. But let's play one more song by Ozzy,
Yeah, man,
which
you
is
gotta-
the biggest song I think he ever put out.
Yeah.
And his buddy Lemmy helped him write it.
Mama, I'm coming home.
Yeah.
You told me lies, but I can't stand to say goodbye. Mama, I'm coming home. I could be right, I could be wrong. It hurts so bad, it's been so long. Mama, I'm coming home. Selfish love, yeah, we're both.
That's a great song.
Yeah,
man.
it's a great
song.
Ozzy's such a humble guy. They put him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He'd be tits happy, dude.
Sure. He's still like that guy. Like when he was a kid, he just wanted to be accepted somewhere because he's like this weirdo. Like, I mean, he just wanted to be. He wants to be part of something. Like that's his gig.
Yeah, and it's also I totally forgot too. But he had like Ozfest, right? There's
Yeah,
a whole
there's
other
another
generation
thing.
of
Dude, that
people
went
that got
on-
introduced to him.
That went on for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
If it's still not going on today, like
Yeah.
you know,
Look at all the bands that he brought out with him.
Yeah.
Sure, people
You
that
know?
he gave him a start, and
Yeah.
that's got to count for something, right?
I
would
think
assume.
so. I think so. I
Yeah.
mean,
All right, it's
crazy.
there's another artist that should be in. Here's a third one, man. That we have on our list was Motorhead, and they had their shot as a finalist a couple years ago because Dave Grohl was on the nominating committee. I don't know if he still is. They're very secretive on who's in, but dude, to me, it's like music. Like if hip hop is in, I don't know. I saw an interview. It was either the RZA or Ice-T that they were saying like, "Yo, man, like." rock and roll is as much as an attitude as the music. And I was like, all right, man, that makes sense. I was like, but nobody was more rock and roll than Lemmy.
He was walking, talking rock and roll.
Absolutely, man.
His music put out, there was nothing. He forgave nothing. He about himself. You know, he was like, I am rock and roll, and I don't forgive my whatever.
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, he lived fast and hard. He said he drank a bottle of Jack Daniels every day from when he turned 30 until when he died.
That's crazy.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of whiskey, man.
Let's hear one of his songs.
Yeah, dude. Ace of Spades.
If you like to gamble, I tell you I'm your man. You win some, lose some, and do the same to me. The pleasure is to play. Make no difference what you say. I don't say greed. The only card I need is the ace of spades. The ace.
He said he made more money off of Mama, I'm Coming Home than he did in
sure.
everything he ever did in Motorhead.
If only people who bought Motorhead shirts bought a Motorhead album, maybe they'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man.
And the thing is, like, with Lemmy, like, you know, he is the definition of rock and roll. I understand, like, okay, they're going to look at numbers of how many albums you sold, and I'm sure it's very, very low. It's not nowhere near what Ozzy sold or any other act that's nominated. But, you know, to keep, like, the definition of rock and roll is Lemmy.
He would play like 100-something gigs a year.
Yeah, and
he would live on the road, and like he lived at the Whiskey.
Yeah, he lived in a little apartment down the street from the Whiskey. You know,
he said later in life the only thing that would bring money in was his T-shirt sales.
Yeah. They only sold 15 million albums, like collectively over the entire course of their career.
But they like put something out every year.
Yeah. And some of the stuff, like the later stuff, man, he did like an album of covers. Like he covered the Stones. He covered like Sympathy for the Devil and some other like really weird shit. Was just, you know,
he was a weird guy.
He was, man. He started he was a roadie for Hendrix.
Yes.
And then he wrote the song Ramones.
And that's a great song.
Yeah. And he wrote that, and it was like
Lemmy was just everywhere. Like everywhere, you see pictures all the time. He's just everywhere, associated with everybody.
Yeah, there was a video game in the 90s that he had, and I love that he said he wasn't a bass player. He said, I'm a deep guitarist.
Yeah.
I have a quote. I wrote a quote down from Dave Grohl, and he said, until I met Lemmy, I'd never met what I called a real rock and roll hero. Fuck Elvis and Keith Richards. Lemmy is the king of rock and roll. He told me he never considered Motorhead a metal band, and he was quite adamant. Lemmy is a living, breathing, drinking, snorting fucking legend. No one else comes close.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
His definition of rock and roll.
His eulogy was great.
Yeah, the one that did what Dave Grohl gave.
Did you hear what Lemmy made for all of his friends?
Yeah.
They were like a bullet
with his ashes in it.
Yeah. He gave them to all of his friends.
Yeah, when he was cremated, they put him in a 3D printed version of his hat.
Right.
And then that was like the urn at his service. And then he put all the ashes in the bullets and gave them to his friends. So,
what a rock and roller, dude!
Yeah, I knew him before I knew their music. You know, like
sure.
I knew that the
he
thing on his
magazines.
face and the facial hair and the way he stood with the mic up real high and the hat and all the shit and just dude, you just knew him. He's just this enormous, scary, larger than life rock and roll dude.
And even after he died, I'm still amazed that he died, and I was like, oh, he's going to get right in now, and he's still not there.
No.
You know,
I don't think he's successful enough for even them to think to put them in.
I guess
they probably put Kula Ula in. Kula Feely.
Yeah, but he's awesome though too.
No, but
he is a motherfucker.
But you know, rock and roll. Lemmy is rock and roll, and to keep Lemmy's memory alive, besides a stupid statue outside the Rainbow, I think he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
I completely agree, man. I mean, it's and they're not even there's not a lot of heavy metal in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to begin with, right? It's like it's not like saying, oh, there's not a lot of new metal in there. You know, it's like it's a music trend that's been going on for 40 years now. Like it's time to.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. You can count on one hand the number of bands that are in it. But Motley Crue or Motorhead was also. I mean, they sound more punk to me than heavy metal.
But like a good punk story with Lemmy. He tried to teach Sid Vicious how to play bass, and Sid Vicious couldn't even wrap his mind around. He couldn't even pay attention long enough for Lemmy to explain it to him.
Yeah.
Lemmy was a fucking great bass player
Yeah,
next to
yeah.
Playing
next to-
power,
Yeah, well, no.
power chords on his
Yeah,
bass.
and that's all he's doing. Like, not that that's all that he's doing, but he created a sound. It's only one guy can do that.
But
Yeah.
all of us, the effects that he uses and
Yeah.
everything like that, I think he uses such a natural sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that he plays it, the way that he puts his sound, his knobs,
Yeah, it's a
only
record-
him can make it play.
Yeah, and he plays through a Rickenbacker, man, his whole career.
Yeah.
That's a lot of his sound.
That's a
you know?
big sounding guitar.
Which is we did the Rush episode. We were talking about 3-piece acts, and it was like, man, I totally forgot Motorhead being a
Motorhead.
3-piece band.
Yeah, but like, you know, he's more of a rhythm guitar player than a bass player.
That's
you
what's
know?
great
Sure.
about their
Yeah.
band. It's like they shred
Yeah.
the backbeat shreds
Yeah.
while the guitar shreds.
Yeah.
Can we play another song?
Yeah, man. You
It's
got Overkill on here.
What a drumming fast fucking song this is.
Let's do it.
Only when I'm feeling on this when it's good and loud. So good I can't believe it, screaming with the crowd. Don't sweat it, get it back to you.
Man.
Like, how many members have there been of Motorhead? I
Not
know
many.
Really? I thought there was like quite a few of them.
Maybe if there were 6 of them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He finished the touring band that he had with him was with the original guys that he
Okay.
was in the band with. I seen Lemmy, I seen Motorhead a few times, and every time I was like, this could be the last time I see them.
was
You know?
10
10
total.
10
like
total.
over from
40 years.
40
yeah.
years, right?
Yeah.
77 was their
Yeah.
first album.
That's not too bad.
So, did you guys ever listen to the other band, the Hawkwind?
Yeah.
he was in. It was a weird.
Yeah. What was the 60s?
yeah.
Gives us like psychedelic kind
Yeah,
of
here, I'll-
English.
Hang on, I'll play a little bit of it. We can cut this out. But there's a Hawkwind song called Motorhead, which is where he got the
And there's a funny story about how he got thrown out of the band. They were in Canada, and they
Yeah.
just left them there,
yeah.
and
Hang on.
they moved on.
Sunrise, don't shut up another day. Sky high, 6,000 miles away. Don't know how long I've been away. Wound up in an amazing state. Can't get enough.
Anyway, but yeah,
Yeah, but-
that's so. Lemmy used to be in Hawkwind.
But he was like so like you hear that, man, and there's definitely that footprint of what Motorhead is
can
going
hear
to
the way-
become.
you can hear where the
And he's-
bass is really
dude, and he's
turning.
way before his time,
Yeah.
way before his time.
yeah, man.
But like they're gonna put bands that are influenced
Yeah,
by Motorhead into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there would be no Metallica.
They're not
No.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't doing a lot of that, like really looking back at the beginning of
No.
certain things anymore. And like like one of the artists we're going to talk about a little bit later is like very foundational in rock and roll, and it's like, yeah, dude, like modern heavy metal music came out of the 3 guys we've talked about already, man, Ozzy and Motley and Motorhead, and it's like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just doesn't care anymore.
No, they're so out of touch.
well, they're more worried about what's popular and what's going to be more acceptable in this world that we live in today.
But
Yeah.
I think it's more like they all have like that members only jacket. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're part of the cool guy club now. Like you're accepted by your peers. You know,
Yeah, there was always. I mean, when Jan Werner was running it, there were totally people that he like favored, and the
sure.
like Rolling Stone would write about, and then they would get the press and the, like he was. It was pretty common knowledge that he was like he would lobby to get certain people in that the
He's-
magazine liked, and then just would trash can the people that some that he didn't.
just like look at like if we just over the last 10 years just look at the nominations alone. Mm-hmm. It's just a joke. Like who are they trying to impress?
Yeah,
It's rock and roll, man.
Yeah, man. When they said like we're going to try to be last year, we talked about this like that we're going to be more diverse and we want this and we want that, and it was like you knew right away that somebody like Carole King was going to get in
Yeah.
because they wanted to. The new guy that took over as the chairman was like, we need there's a diversity problem, and then it just opens the door. It's like, okay, well then you're saying that. And then immediately when one of those artists get in, people are going to go like, okay, well, you the affirmative action person. Like, is Carole King in because he needed another woman? It was like Tina Turner. Like, I remember we talked about that. We're like, one of the women that were up, they were getting in.
You're going to see this year. You're going to see Pat Benatar.
Yeah,
you're going to see Annie Lennox. And
we said with a couple women, because there weren't any women that were in more than once, right? And there's like a handful of guys that were in multiple times. We were like, one of them, Carole King or Tina Turner. We knew they were getting in because they were already in once on their own, and they needed to balance that out.
Well, I think Dolly would be that this year. If there's going to be one woman. Or, one, like, two women anyway. You have, like, three, like, Dion's up there also. You're going to have Dolly's going to be one of them.
I think, Dolly's also in her 80s.
Yeah, but she deserves it.
But she's an iconic thing.
Yeah.
She's bigger than country music. She's bigger than rock and roll.
Yeah. She transcends that,
crossover.
Yeah, dude. And, and everything that she does are at, like, the Dollywood. There's a documentary on Netflix about her that's pretty new that's out. It was really good.
She did a lot of humanitarian stuff. Like, whatever it is, like, with the coronavirus, before shit really started taking off, she donated $1 million of research before like anybody else.
Do you think Lemmy ever met Dolly?
Ooh, I don't know.
He met so many people, man. It's crazy.
There's my next homework assignment, man. I'll find out if she.
Lemmy probably would like chase her around Dolly World.
It's funny
with a rum and coke in his hand, Jack and Coke.
She just started. If you work at Dolly World, she'll pay for you to go to college too. And I always thought that was like, okay, you opened an amusement park with your name on it. That's pretty shitty. Yeah, you just want to make money. And they were like, no, she's like where she lived in Pigeon Forge.
She's a great humanitarian.
Yeah, they did it for like to give back to the community. I was like, well, I feel like an asshole.
And she wanted for something for people to do. Out there. You know what I mean? It's a hell of a place. You should go there one day.
It's on our list to go down and check it out.
It's part of Americana, man.
Yeah.
Lemmy fit in everywhere, though. Yeah. You see pictures of Lemmy at Studio 54.
Oh, everywhere.
I'd go to Lemmy World if there was an amusement park.
What would that world be like?
I don't.
You just spin you around in a circle, and then they send you on your way.
Right. You just you have to drink 17 bottles of Jack Daniels. It's like the warden on his birthday.
Yeah. It's like in that Simpsons episode, like, don't drink the word, he starts hallucinating. No, this is the ride. You have to take this and hallucinate.
But there was that story when in that Lemmy documentary that was really great, and he goes to, I guess it was Dave Grohl. He's like, "Oh, would you like a Jack and Coke?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, well we each have a Jack and Coke," and he opens a bottle of Jack Daniels and hands it to him.
Yeah,
it's like this is the Jack. This is your drink. Here you go.
Finish it. Yeah, he was saying how hungover he was. We'll have to share Dave Grohl giving his eulogy on our social media page, man, because it was really touching, the stories that he told, and seeing that Dave Grohl started crying at the end, and it was really nice.
They're up for it this year, aren't they? Are they in last year?
They got in last year. Yeah.
Of course they did.
Yeah, we talked about them at length too. So, all right, man, let's keep on moving. The next one, and we got definitely a heavy metal theme here. We kind of organized our notes that way. Not every one we have on here is Hall of Fame or is excuse me.
But I was just like, what's most like that should be on there?
Iron Maiden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing that they're not in the Hall of Fame.
I just don't get it.
Who the hell did they piss off?
They're another one, man, between like the iconography. Yeah, like Ozzy was scaring the hell out of everybody.
Sure.
Iron Maiden was scaring everybody too, man.
Before Ozzy had came out by himself.
With Eddie and all that other stuff that they had going on. And
their music was smart, though. Everybody thought they were singing about this cult kind of thing, and they're singing about ancient wars and,
some Dungeons and Dragons shit.
Yeah, right. Like Rush, but not shitty.
Yeah.
Like heavy metal Rush.
Yeah.
British Rush.
Yeah.
They're definitely a guitar singing band. The runs that they do up and down the neck, I watched them from Rock in Rio 2019, I believe it was, and the whole fucking country showed up and watched them play. And here's they don't even speak English, but they're singing all the words to all the songs.
Yeah.
And it's like and they could have been new songs, and they were singing word for word.
Yeah, man, and he was Bruce Dickinson is the most interesting person
on the planet,
rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
And he's the human air raid siren. The dude's, his voice and just everything about him, man. There's like, we talked about Henry Rollins being like the Renaissance man. Like Bruce Dickinson is like,
he has a one-man show out now.
Yeah.
He's coming to the city.
I would go to that. I missed it.
Yeah, I think it was at the Keswick.
Yeah.
I would definitely go to that.
Super interesting dude, man. So he is he's an airline pilot, right? So he flies their plane He's flown commercial stuff. Yeah, he's a world-class fencer. He was either like in the Olympics or he was like in the national champion or something.
They were going to ask him to be. They wanted him to be in the Olympics, but he's like, no, I got to go on tour. I can't.
Yeah, he's like
he's like this ball of energy on stage.
Yeah,
he's always has.
He's like real theatrical.
He has a costume change every song, just like Elton John.
Yeah, like incredibly. He's written books and said all his. They have a line of beer out that you can find.
Yeah,
just really, really interesting dude, man. Like, just I've seen that in a store a couple times. I never bought it, so I'm not a fan.
I've had it.
I've
had it.
The can's cooler than anything.
Yeah, the can's cooler than anything else.
I don't really like British beer.
Yeah,
so
we're snobs.
British beer and food. Yeah.
Hey, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How many albums did Iron Maiden sell?
Oh man, that's amazing that you should ask. If you include all the compilations and the video releases and stuff, it's over 200 million copies. But the albums alone is over 100 million.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Like around the world. So like I said, they're
like
huge in like
around the world.
Yeah.
They're a
Huge,
household name. They're a household name.
They play anywhere and they sell out.
Yeah.
You know, we went and saw them. They were pretty good, but I was a little let down.
That was a weird show.
Yeah, they played like the new album that they had out at the time they were supporting. They barely played any of the hits. But it was cool to see them. They put a hell of a show on.
They do. Very theatrical. That's all I can say.
I think they got one of the best characters of
oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Eddie.
He comes out like 3 times in like different okay, well, he's coming out in the Egyptian suit, and then he comes out like as the mummy and the trooper, and
yeah, it's great.
To see Bruce Dickinson in the trooper outfit with the flag is awesome. Like it's just, and he starts like swinging around the Union Jack around. Like it's really something cool to see.
You like talk to the real Iron Maiden fans, and they're like, "Oh, I like the original singer of Iron Maiden."
Yeah,
I don't even know that dude's name.
Yeah, nobody does. Everybody knows.
But the only thing that album, that first album, that's like the first vision of Eddie.
Yeah, there again, man. There's just another act that it was like, what? How are they not on the list? Like, I don't even understand like a coherent argument against them.
Let's hear one of their songs.
Other than it's all right, yeah, dude. Yeah, we're talking about them for 10 minutes and haven't played anything yet. Here you go. Here's the Trooper.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand. There's no turning back. The bill sounds, the charge begins. But on this battlefield, no one wins. The smell of earth and smoke and horse's breath. As a virgin into sudden death.
I never get tired of that.
No, man.
I never get tired of that song.
Opening guitar.
Yeah.
There is no British metal in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and as we're playing the break, man, I just was Googling, like, why aren't they? Just trying to find, like, is there an argument? I'm looking at an interview from Greg Harris. He's the new CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's like, hey, man, rock and roll was never just like 4 skinny guys with long hair and guitars. It's really diverse, and people need to expand their thinking of what rock and roll is. It's a really big tent, and that's why hip hop is. So he just was making.
Yeah, but
But you have to put like one. Okay, is a big thing, but this is one of the number first stakes in the ground for music, for rock, not music, but for music of today.
When was the last time that guy heard a song?
I don't know.
You know, instead of he's crunching numbers and
Yeah.
doing all that bullshit. When was the last time he went to a concert and was like touched by a song?
He said there's no doubt that Iron Maiden is an impactful, influential band, and that's why they've been nominated. But there's also 15 other acts who've been nominated. So
Yeah, like Dionne Warwick.
Yeah, right. It's like, come on, man! It's
bullshit.
There's just an
bullshit.
overarching, like the heavy metal just isn't represented. Sabbath is in, Metallica.
But I don't
That's
necessarily
it?
think like
Yeah.
like you have a lot of British acts in there, but I don't really think that the Brits really care about being in the American Rock and Roll of Fame. I mean, like
No,
Dire
they're-
Straits didn't show up.
No,
Like
they
were
don't
just
give
like,
a shit.
They don't give
The
a
guys,
shit.
I'm down. I'm sure Iron Maiden won't show up if they got nominated.
No, they
If
would show up. They would play. They would show
I don't
up.
know.
Yeah, I think he. I think Bruce Dickinson has been pretty adamant. Like, it's just a bunch of American people, and it's bullocks. I think I read it last year.
They're bigger than America. You know, like the small thinking of America, and they're like huge and all around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like small thinking in the States.
But
basically.
I think that Maiden would be happy just for their fans. if they got in there, they would feel good for their fans because their fans are represented into the Hall of Fame.
I'm sure they're in Hall of Fames we don't even know about.
Sure. But they're talking about like, there's a big article in Rolling Stone recently about Eminem getting in, and it was like, but he's white, and he's also like relatively newer compared to some of the other, they have to settle that. Like they're like, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hasn't put a lot of hip hop artists in, so you have all these really early influential people, and it's like, okay, but then look at heavy metal. Like you've got 40 years of shit that you need to make right.
Yeah.
Like a band like. We talked about them before, man. Like the MC5, like they're like, they didn't do much and sell records, but I was like,
but what they did,
right, man? It was like all that punk music came out of that.
Influenced. And like Ryan said, that these are the bands that influenced other bands,
right?
With all kinds of music,
right.
Influencing all
like, dude,
different
Lady
kinds
Gaga
of music.
loves Iron Maiden. Like, you know what I mean? She's went on record and says, "I love Iron Maiden. I listen to them all the time."
You listen to some of that Iron Maiden, I hear classical music in it.
Yeah.
There's some technical shit in there.
They're more than just a heavy metal band.
They have like 3 guitar players at one point.
Right.
They're technically very difficult, man.
Yeah, and just if you're just writing it off, you're like, oh well, it's just heavy metal music and kids with long hair.
And they don't know what they're talking about.
Right, you just like you're totally out of touch. Because I just said they sold 100 million records, and there's a shit ton of these heavy metal bands. Like Pantera is eligible, and Megadeth and Slayer and Judas Priest. They're up. They're a finalist this year. There's all these heavy metal bands that are really important in the story of rock and roll that just never gotten the vote.
It's ridiculous.
Iron Maiden, man. They're one of the biggest rock and roll on this planet.
Yep. They're the definition of it.
Can we play another song by them?
Of course we can. Run to the Hills.
He's got one of the best voices in the world.
Yeah, the operatic part of his voice, man.
It's like, am I a big fan of Iron Maiden on my music? No.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah,
but this
I'm not either.
This is one of my picks. I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
They're another band like Motorhead. When I said I knew Lemmy before I knew their music, like I knew Eddie, like the kid in my neighborhood that had the jean jacket.
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, right. You're like, what is this? Shit that my parents didn't want me to listen to. They had no idea what it was. They didn't want me listening to. But yeah, dude, and especially and you don't hear stories about them doing drugs and
you don't hear much.
Yeah, they live
Bruce
in castles.
Right, Bruce Dickens is this world class
novels.
intellectual. Right, so it's like you can't throw him in like the Motley Crue bucket of like, they're just shit bags and stuff like that. That just, guy flies a goddamn 747
to his own gigs.
Right, you can see pictures of him in like the pilot suit and everything.
Dude, I saw a picture like last week of him in his uniform in front of the Iron Maiden plane.
Yeah,
and like Ryan said, like they play countries, and you see on the side of the plane it says everywhere that they're hitting, and it's like country after country after country after country, and you see inside the plane it's just the crew, the band, and all their equipment. They're just like jump seats. And
like
their shit.
There's no stewardesses or nothing like that. It's a cargo plane.
Ed Force One, right? That's their plane.
Ed Force One.
Ed Force One.
666.
Yeah. Really cool, man. All right, so I don't know how people are going to vote on put these artists.
No,
in,
but
so.
I think so far we're right on the money.
I think so too.
For what we stand for rock and roll, we got to put these metal guys in first.
Yeah.
We can't ignore them like all the other rock and roll Hall of Fame shit ignores them.
Yep. All right. So the next one we have on the list, man, that I see as the single biggest snub in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that's Dick Dale. And I talked about him on the guitar picks list. He was on there. So he's been eligible for 35 years, and he's never even been nominated.
Why do you think that is, Bruce?
I don't know, man. Ryan, you've said a couple times you think that. I mean, a buddy of yours was his roadie. He was one of his guitar tech.
He wasn't a really nice man.
He was kind of a crank.
Yeah. Dude, we can give him shitbag of the week.
Shitbag of the week. All right, here we go. shitbag of the week.
Dun, dun, dun.
He literally had a shitbag too. He had a colostomy bag for the last 20 years of his life.
But what really made him a shitbag? Like I understand, like
He was
people.
a real racist guy.
Was he really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Really?
what Waldo told me. He's like,
Really?
he was really racist, and it was disgusting how racist he was. He's like, you got to remember, like, when Dick Dale first broke in, he was already like 35 years old.
Yeah.
Like, so he was already set in his ways.
Oh wow!
His old ways.
I'd never heard that, but obviously he's close to him, and I'm not. Yeah, dude. So I pulled together in my notes like here's a list of artists who have been influenced by Dick Dale: the Beach Boys, Hendrix, which I thought was really interesting. So Hendrix also played the guitar backwards, like Dick Dale did, and Dick Dale was around first, and Hendrix also had the headband that Dick Dale used to wear. And I was like, wow, I never thought of that. Stevie Ray Vaughan, the Ramones, Van Halen, the Cramps, the Ventures, all those bands except for the Cramps are all in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it was more like, it's not even what he did as a player, but also like the technology and all the shit that he did. Like I said before, like he played really, really heavy strings on his guitar, and they said that he played so fast that the guitar picks actually would melt in his hand. I have all
That's
the
hilarious.
I wrote the gauges down. I wrote them down last time too. He said he's got 16, 18, and 20 gauge unwound strings and 39, 40, and 60 gauge wound strings. Which I'm not a musician, so I don't. That's
heavy.
Okay, and they said that he, all the shit that he made was around like his amps and everything. So like the Fender amp with the speaker cabinet over top of it, like Fender made that for him. It was called the Showman, and they made it up until like couple years ago, and he said like they were the first speaker cabinet was only whatever it was like 50 watts, and he said he was famous for like he was blowing them up at all of his shows.
That's amazing.
And Fender lived in the same area as Dick Dale and was like, hey man, we'll try to build you something out. And they said they would build him something
and he'd blow it up,
and he would play it, and he would they said sometimes it would catch on fire because he was blowing it up, and he was like
that's awesome.
He said something like, I don't play, I wrote it down. He said, I don't play scales. I make the beast scream with pain or pleasure when I play the guitar.
It's rock and roll, man.
Yeah, dude. And it was like, he said, I wanted to capture the sound of the ocean in my sound.
That was my question. Like, where did he find the speed of the sound? Like, was it like the waves in the ocean, like the surfboard in the ocean going as fast as it can?
Yeah, he said he wanted to capture that sound for people that couldn't hear the Pacific Ocean.
Talking about a sound, play the sound that is way famous.
Miserloo?
If you don't know this song, shame on you. We need the soundbite right there.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
I said this in the guitar episode that I saw him a couple times, and he was in his 80s, and man,
he's still moving fast, right?
That song sounded just like that. I was like blown away how fast his hands were.
When that song came out, probably blew people's minds.
Yeah,
like what is this guy doing?
I think even when it was in Pulp Fiction, it blew people's minds.
Yeah,
it was so obscure.
Yeah,
it was
kind of really obscure at the
then.
time. Yeah,
It made that scene though. Like,
sure.
Who doesn't know the opening scene of Pulp Fiction?
Oh yeah, when I say like, oh, I saw Dick Dale, and people look at you like, like a dog with their head goes sideways, like, oh, the opening at Pulp Fiction. Like, oh, okay, yeah, the surf music guy. And he was one of the first guys who used like a lot of like reverb and all. And you heard it in that too. And like before that, like reverb was really like done in the studio, right? Like so we did like Sam Phillips would do with Elvis and shit like that. And he was one of the first people to really like have like a pedal that would do all that kind of stuff.
But like you said, like like surf music, he invented surf music.
Sure.
Like he invented that feel and that sound. You know
sure.
what I mean?
And that fast sound. I mean, people have argued that that's like
that
where
California,
like Sabbath, that's where like heavy metal came out of, like the speed metal. He's the father of that.
I wonder like what inside his head worked like. Everything was fast.
Like
it had to have been.
Yeah. Tick 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 tick.
Like maybe he like fought fast cars, fast women, fast living, and a colostomy bag.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, he's just another founding sound of rock and roll.
Yeah, really sad at the end of his life, though.
Yeah, man. And he was just playing to pay for his cancer treatments. Yeah. It was really sad.
It just shows you he must really burn so many bridges that nobody wanted to help him.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. It's a good point, man. He went from being
he was not having like big gigs. Like you saw him at the Pony, right?
Yeah, I saw him at the Wonder Bar across the street from the Stone Pony. A little tiny
You
place.
know,
It's not like and he's fucking playing for me and the Warden. You know, it's like
yeah, nobody wants anything to do with him.
Yeah,
you know, he's like, you know.
But he's also been, like, at that time, he's been around for so long. And people forgot about him.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? People forgot about him. They, you know, people moved on from different stuff, you know?
and it's like, you don't want to make, like, you're going to make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, and you're going to make your pitch, right? Your elevator pitch, why it should be in. You're going to talk about, like, well, he played with these really heavy guitar strings, and he helped shape, you know, the evolution of amp cabinet. Like, nobody wants to hear, like we do. That we think that's interesting, but you know, you want to hear that, or you want to hear Dave Grohl get up and go like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in the rock," you know, of course,
yeah.
But like, you know, like Randy, like we were talking, Randy Rhoads was inducted like an honorary member.
Charlie Patton got in last year. That
do the
the
same
blues
thing.
guy.
Do the same thing with him.
Right.
Yeah, just get him in there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it will happen.
I don't think so either, man. And it's been a couple years since he passed away. It's like his memory
window
becomes less and less.
Yeah.
Like it's just
And that's a shame.
We're like talking about him on a radio show.
Like maybe one day they'll make a movie about him. Like you said, like he was not a nice person. He's very controversial. Like, you know, burned a lot of bridges. It sounds like a great movie that people would want to see to me. It's self-destructive.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think if he gets in, it's one of those like honorary. Like there's no vote, there's no nomination.
Nothing,
you just like you stick him in under something. Like, I mean, his wife is still alive.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, I don't imagine him selling a lot of records, but him culturally changing things was a big thing.
Sure, man. I mean the Ventures are in. Like when I was reading that, I was like, wait, they're in. I think they're the only instrumental rock band in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was like, but that surf music sound comes from him, or the Beach Boys came. You know, it's all out of him. But the hell do I know? I'm just some jabroni with a podcast.
Jabroni.
So I'm just some dude with a microphone and a laptop and a cup of tea.
Two dopey guys.
Yeah. So. We're halfway through, man. You want to take a break? We'll come back. We'll talk to the other five, and then we'll do everything else. We'll be back.
Stick around.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life can feel overwhelming these days. We're all moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and sometimes get so wrapped up in everything and everyone around us that we don't take the time to invest in ourselves. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. But the good news is, therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself, because you are the greatest asset. And as a special offer to Prisoners of Rock and Roll listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/prisoner. That's betterhelp.com/prisoner. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia. There's something for everyone on the beer list and the jukebox at McCusker's. It's minutes from the sports stadiums in Philly, making it a great place to stop by for a few drinks before or after a concert or a game. Come see for yourself why everyone from Philadelphia Magazine to Playboy has called it one of the best dive bars in the city. Visit them at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia or on Facebook. That's McCusker's Tavern. All right, thanks for sticking with us, man. We got 5 more artists we're going to talk about who we think should be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the number 6 on our list was a band from the 90s, and that was Oasis.
Yeah.
I just think they're a great band. This was one of my picks. I think that they ruled the 90s, like the late 90s. They were a big deal. They're kind of still a big deal in my head anyway.
Yeah, dude, I thought this was a little bit out of left field. So I was curious to hear your rationale behind picking them.
Me personally, it was majorly influenced in my life.
Okay.
I mean, like, I already knew about the Beatles and all that, and they just were like a breath of fresh air of what was grunge was going on and this and that. They brought more of a melody back to music.
Okay.
And like the single, like not necessarily sing-alongs, but like a lot of people liked it. So I think it's very well represented to our generation.
It's definitely like a genre of British pop rock alternative kind of stuff coming overseas. There's definitely a wave of it. I'm thinking like Blur, and I mean Blur got pretty like they were more like electronic sound, but there was a wave of other British bands that came over. Like I don't know, I'm thinking like the Laws. There was a whole handful of those kind of bands that had that kind of similar sound, but Oasis was really like the tip of the spear.
Let's play a song.
It's gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now, you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had it out.
I think they had a great throwback sound at that time. Everything, like especially the drums sound.
Were they also more popular because they were brothers and they had all that fighting going on?
I know nothing about that.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I think the music does speak for themselves. Like a lot of people did identify with their music. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there like, oh, really, this band? But dude, they sold a ton of albums. How many albums did they sell?
According to the internet, by 2009, they sold 70 million albums, that was whatever.
In 2009.
That's 12 years ago. They were the most successful act to come out of the United Kingdom from 95 to 2005. And this says, another thing says they've sold over 60 million albums in the United States. So, yeah, they were, I didn't realize that they sold that many
They were
albums.
a big deal. They were a very big deal.
Do you think they're another band that burned bridges?
Of course.
Like they were
Absolutely.
drunken fights and calling.
They said they were better or bigger than the Beatles, or they were the biggest
They were
band
really
since the Beatles. Yeah.
They were
I think
pompous.
they were just drunk all the time and just spitefully saying shit.
Yeah, we talked about their MTV Unplugged performance on that episode where he showed up all shit faced, and the other one had to do the singing because they were all bombed.
Yeah.
He was all bombed and disappeared for a couple days. But and Wonderwall also gets shit on that, right? It's like the running joke, like, oh, you're at a party, somebody has acoustic guitar. Well, here's Wonderwall. It's like a meme now,
Yeah.
but that is a really good song. It's a really
They
good
have
pop song.
Don't Look Back in Anger. That's a great song.
Yeah, that was a good one. Morning Glory, Doug, you mentioned that too as another song. We'll play a little bit of that. Have you listened to any of their newer stuff? Because I'm reading as we're talking, and they said that
We've seen Liam Gallagher. Which Gallagher did we see a couple of years ago?
We saw Noel. Noel opened up for the Smash Pumpkins.
And he was kind of weirdo.
Yeah. But Noel just came out with a new song, came out a couple weeks ago, with Dave Grohl on it also. They wrote a song together, so that's out on Spotify if you want to get over to listen.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's
so
not
between 95
great.
from 94 to 2008, they had 22 top 10 hits in the UK. And I'm thinking, like, man, I like that song we were just playing. I was like, dude, I haven't listened to that song in 30 years. And I was like, man, I haven't listened to any of their music. I haven't kept up with what they've been up to at all.
They don't really do much.
Yeah.
They solo each other.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I do feel that like that train's coming, that you're going to see like that reunion tour going to pop up again, because they're kind of like hitting at it a little bit.
Yeah, the Black Crowes can get back together.
Yeah.
Until we get back together.
Yeah, but in regards to the Black Crowes, you have to have the other guys that were in Oasis in that band also.
They have always replaced them. They always like rotate those dudes, didn't they?
I don't believe they did.
It looks like they haven't had a studio album since 2008.
Yeah.
Interesting. And they haven't, so they sold the last couple of their albums. I'm just looking at the album sales in the United States. It was like definitely maybe 2.5 million, Morning Glory 4 million, Be Here Now 1 million, and then the other ones are 200,000, 150,000, 116,000. So they just never really hung around.
Right.
But yeah, so they were. I watched something, man. We were doing the MTV Unplugged. I think it was Noel, like in concert by himself with a band, like without his brother. And it was pretty rocking, and I was enjoying it because again, I haven't listened to their music in a long time.
They put some great albums. Standing on the Shoulders of Giants was a great album. Be Here Now, that was a great album.
Yeah,
But like I said, I just thought, everybody extended like, oh, who would you like to see in a Rock and Roll of Fame? And I thought these guys represented our our generation pretty well.
I'm trying to think, like, there's not, like, other than Nirvana, like, bands out of the 90s that made it. I mean, Beck is up this year, right? You had Nirvana,
Pearl Jam,
and that's kind of it, right? It's like, and that genre is 30 years ago at this point. And, like, Soundgarden was up last year, and I really think they're going to get in once all this shit with his estate settled. We talked about that before, that we said, like, we didn't think they were going to get in because they didn't want to.
Yeah, it's not time yet.
Yeah, his widow was suing the band, and the shit was real messy. The Smashing Pumpkins have never been up either, which is kind of surprising to me, because they've at least been relative. They've been around longer, right? And they're still kind of relevant.
Yeah, they're around all the time.
Yeah. There's two other bands from the late 80s, early 90s on our list in addition to this. But the next one that we have on here are we good on Oasis? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, we good? Okay. The next one that we had on here was Thin Lizzy. And Ryan, you brought them up. You were pretty adamant about them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame episode we did last year.
Dude, I just think they are such influential on what garage rock and roll is. Just a bass guitar, drums, and guitar and voice. Garage rock. They wrote some classic songs. Can we hear one of them?
Yeah, sure. You want to hear The Boys Are Back in Town?
Man.
Haven't changed, had much to say. But man, I still think them cats are crazy. They were asking if you were around, how you was, where you could be found. I told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men crazy. The boys are back in town. I said,
Thin Lizzy's not a band that sold millions of jillions of albums.
But another band that influenced a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. They were an Irish band.
They sold about 50 million copies around the world, so that's pretty. They never had a big hit. Jailbreak went gold, but they were never like enormous. You're right. It said they were Irish, and he was black, right? So he was a black Irish dude. So really culturally different.
Yeah.
Not a lot of African American dudes just in rock and roll at all. And then a Irish dude.
He was a great bass player.
But they're a great band. Like, somebody will play, like, Thin Lizzy, like, some, like, cuts that are in Jailbreak or Boys Are Back in Town. And I'm like, what is this? And it's like,
really
dude,
good.
this is Thin Lizzy. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is a band I always forget about. I'm like, I gotta listen to more of these guys. Like, but what a great, great, great band.
Yeah, they're awesome. I mean, they're totally. I think they're pinky out rock and roll. Like, you have to know your shit to know about
them and be into them.
Yeah, you have to know about them.
Other than like the two songs, like the one we just played in Jailbreak. Like,
you want to hear a good song?
Yeah,
play Cowboy song.
Cowboy.
This
song?
is a really good song.
Is it? All right, here we go. We're gonna fire it up. I'm digging it. I don't know that song, but I'll have to,
I think they're up there with Springsteen, like with his lyrics and like how he phrases things. He was very underrated, very underrated band. Nobody knows who they are. They should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I definitely agree with that.
If you want to talk influential on rock bands, this band is influential.
Yeah, Doug, I'm with you, man. They're another band that every time I hear them, I'm like, I should listen to more of their stuff because I like everything I hear. Yeah, and I just never get around to it. Maybe I'll try to make a point when I'm driving home tonight. I'll put some on and I'll check out some of their stuff. Yeah, so every time I hear them, I have such like really strong memories of like, or this just sounds like I'm in a bar down the Jersey Shore. Yeah, I'm just in one of those little neighborhood, not one of the like the fucking nightclubs or something. I'm in the Shamrock.
You're in a bar.
I'm in the Shamrock or I'm down the street at McCusker's.
I just thought he has a great fuzz sound.
Yeah. On the like guitar.
The guitar, the bass, the rhythm of everything. Like and his lyrics, he's wordy.
Yeah. He is very wordy. They're a great, and again, they're a great bar band. Like you were just saying, like you were talking about, like you'll listen to some McCuskers or you listen to Shamrock down the shore. What a great bar band.
Yeah.
In the beginning, that's all Springsteen was just a bar band.
Sure.
I think, Thin Lizzy broke up before, I don't even know the guy's name, Phil Lynott. He, passed away young.
Yeah, he was 36. He died in the mid-'80s, so...
He had a very sad downfall after Thin Lizzy.
A lot of drugs and...
Heartbreak, and he lost his band. He lost his heart.
Yeah, his marriage had fallen apart, and just kind of one of those just sad,
just rock and roll endings.
Yeah, real heavy drinker, doing heroin and all kinds of other stuff, and he just died of an overdose.
I bet Lemmy hanged out with him too.
I'm sure.
Lemmy probably would have drank him under the table. But
snorted more speed.
Yeah. I'm looking at they did one other one-off performance in '86 with Bob Geldorf. Singing lead vocals, which is okay. And then they actually are still around. They record under the name Black Star Riders because Lynott's wife doesn't let them use the name.
Yeah,
which is weird.
I've seen. Do you remember the metal show on VH1?
Yeah.
They were on that, and they had their new singer with them. And I actually caught them on a Download Fest a few years ago on TV, and they were doing The Boys Are Back in Town. And the kid really did a great job. Phil Lynott's dead. You ain't gonna bring him back. But they brought this young white kid in, this rocker. That's keeping the music alive.
That's great.
I don't know if I'm going to listen to that on my way home, but maybe I'll try to find some YouTube videos or something of it tomorrow. Yeah, dude. What else do you want to hear?
I want to hear that beginning of Jailbreak.
Jailbreak. Oh yeah, dude.
Getting up and going down. High and low, looking right to left. If you see us coming, I think it's best.
Yeah, man. If
you don't know anything about them,
just
greatest
solid.
Hits.
I don't know. They're never a top. They're never considered a top tier rock and roll band, but they're the second line, right? They're they're the center of the second line of rock and roll bands.
But you never hear them nominated.
Yeah,
you don't hear their name anywhere.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, especially they've influenced a whole bunch. Metallica covered them, right, on Garage Inc. and a couple other bands. We're saying Anthrax has covered them a couple times.
Like with Metallica going back, that Kirk Hammett said that Thin Lizzy is a huge part of what Metallica's dual guitar sound. So they're a huge dual guitar band.
Yeah,
or that sound. And it was only one guy because it's a 3-piece, but Metallica really took that under their big influence under their music.
Yeah, a lot of bands now don't have that fuzzy guitar sound anymore either. That classic. Yeah,
I feel like I missed the whole train of the 70s, man. Mm-hmm. I was only born in 76.
Yeah, this is good rock and roll, not prog rock and yes, and
it's real rock and roll.
Yeah, right.
It's real rock and roll.
Yeah. All right, we got 3 artists left, so. The next one was the Pixies, and they were one of my picks. And
that's amazing they're not in there.
Yeah, another band from the 90s, just when I was looking through the list of snubs, trying to come up with who my 3 would be, and I was like, really? They're not on the list? Did they just have that classic 90s sound? Here's a little bit of Where's Your Mind. I'll pick it up a minute in.
I think it's a very intellectual pick, Bruce.
Yeah. They're like the 90s version of the Velvet Underground.
Yes.
Like a radio, like a Radiohead-ish thing going on. It amazed me, Radiohead was such a big band, and they still are such a big band, and Pixies are also a huge band. I know a lot of people who love them. but they don't get the recognition as Radiohead does get.
Yeah, and I don't like Radiohead very much.
I'm not a big fan either.
But so I just made a couple notes like the bands that they influence, like Weezer. You can hear Weezer sound all over. Sonic Youth, Radiohead, Smashing Pumpkins, Arcade Fire, who's a modern band. And then, of course, the big one was Nirvana.
Sure.
Like, right?
Yeah.
So when Kurt wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit, he said he was trying to sound like a Pixie. He was trying to write a Pixie song.
I think that whole Nevermind sounds like a Pixies album.
Yeah.
You know, it's so fuzzy and so, you know, like children's songs, man.
And they never, like, I mean, if you think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of telling the story of music, there's nothing linking, like, Radiohead and Nirvana to, like, the big picture, right? And, like, the Pixies came first. The Pixies were in, like, the 80s. And it's like, you know, they're just like, oh, well, Nirvana was just kind of this weird one-off that came out of nowhere and changed everything. It was, well, they still were influenced by something.
Yeah.
And there's nothing tying to it.
The Pixies is just one of those bands who you hear in movies, and you're like, what's that song? Like, I was watching Fight Club for the millionth time.
Yeah, that song we just played.
Yeah, and that song is at the end of it when the buildings are all crashing down.
Yeah.
And that's iconic by itself. Like, everybody remembers that movie, that part of the movie. Of course, it's the end, but that's why that song's so iconic, because it was so visually, like, visually, like, took you back, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah, I agree, man. Just like when people give you the dog sideways head look, like I don't know who Dick Dale is, you say the Pixies, like, oh, that song from the last scene of Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I know that song.
It was funny that you said that they sound like the Velvet Underground, because there's the other song that's on there, There Goes My Man.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the Velvet
Oh
Underground.
really? Here's a little bit of it.
Outside we wait till face turns blue. I know the nervous walking. I know the dirty bed hangs out by the boxcar waiting. Take me way to nowhere place. There is a wait so long. You never wait so long. Here comes a man.
Yeah, like I always thought it was the Velvet Underground.
Dude, that the guitar work on that just sounds like so many bands out of the 90s.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just such a,
That's
like,
a great song, though. It's a great pop song.
Yeah,
I'll give it that.
They had like a sound. They called it. I wrote it down. It was in my notes. They called it the loud, quiet, loud. Like so, that was like they'd have a big sound and it gets real muffled and it gets bigger again. And I don't know when the hell were we talking about Sonic Youth? Oh, in the '92 episode. And I said the girl from Sonic Youth went on to that band, The Breeders, and I was wrong. It was actually Kim Deal from the Pixies.
Okay.
I'm surprised comic book guy didn't. He must have missed that episode and didn't blow me up over that. But yeah, dude, I just thought that there's not a lot of that 90s pop rock alternative stuff represented.
But you think they would be a band that they would represent? Like, they would be perfect for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because they're you got to be a little artsy to get into it. I said like Velvet Underground. And it's not even, when I said that, it's not even like the sound. It's like just kind of, you got to be into music, right? There's not a lot of like casual
Maybe, like,
Velvet
snobby,
Underground, right? Like the Andy Warhol shit, and Walk on the Wild Side, even though it's a Lou Reed song, you just think like, oh, it's Velvet Underground, stuff like that.
But the Pixies have a huge fan base, man, even till today.
Yeah.
And they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't listen to them like casually a lot. I listened to them several times as we were preparing for this episode, and I just thought they fit. They've got 2 albums in the Rolling Stones like list of 500 greatest albums of all time. They have 2 of them, and I just thought they were just an important band. And
that's it. They're an important band.
They are a very important band.
Like,
not a popular band, but they're an important band.
Yeah, and that's why they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think every one of these bands we've been talking about are important, in the big picture of music. So, all right, we got 2 left, and they're both completely different than anything else we've been talking about. And the next one is the Dave Matthews Band, and they've been up a couple times.
Have they?
I think so.
This was like one of my picks, so I didn't know if they were ever.
I thought they the
Maybe
fan.
one
They were
year
the
they
fan
did.
vote.
Maybe
I think
Maybe you're right. Maybe I do remember from a couple of years ago.
they won the fan ballot. I think last year, and they didn't get in.
And and again, here's another band with a humongous fan base, even to today. They still tour. They still go on, they still sell. They just played in Mexico with Fish, or Dave Matthews just did. Did you hear about that, Ryan?
I knew Fish just played down there. I didn't know anything about Dave Matthews being down there.
Yeah, so it's Monday. So he played yesterday, Saturday or Sunday, and he got up there and he played pretty much a whole set with Fish.
And they're a band they've been around for 30 years, right? They're still playing. They still sell out probably everywhere they go.
They put a lot of music out.
They do.
Every year they got a new album out.
They're another one that I have not.
You have to invest time into be a Dave Matthews fan. Like, it's like you have to invest time into be a Fish fan.
Yeah.
You know? I just don't have that in me to follow Dave like that.
I've seen Dave a lot. I've probably seen Dave or Dave Matthews Band probably 5 or 6 times in my life. And that I haven't seen him probably in like 20 years. But I'm afraid to go to a show today because I'm afraid not to know that they want to play Don't Drink the Water or like, Tripping with Billy or something like that. It would be like completely over my head.
It's funny you should say that because I've had the exact same. I think I've seen him probably around the same amount of time. I used to go see him at like the Man Music Center in Philadelphia every year when I was like in high school or college.
Dude, I saw him on the Crash tour.
Did you? I remember we were working in the music store when that album came out, man. And we used to play that religiously, like every day.
Every song on that album is great.
Was great, and that's I think probably like 2001 is probably when I stopped. I just kind of stopped keeping up with them. And I'm looking at how many they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They come out with 5 other albums since then. So it's like once every couple albums every year, and then they've got a shit ton of live music and
like their live album, that first live album they came with. Man, I must have like played that thing 1,000 times.
At the Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Live at the Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Let's play a song. What do you want to hear?
Yeah. What do you want to hear?
What do you have on there?
Trippin' Billy's. And
that's good. The thing with Dave Matthews, his band is amazing. Like his drummer Carter Buford is absolutely blows me away every time I hear him play.
Isn't there something with his kit? He's really weird. It's like backwards.
It kind of is. Like he plays like his hi-hat is not on his left side; it's on his right side. So he plays it with his right hand, and he crosses over with his left hand. And I just that technique is I had a conversation last week with the drummer about that, and he said it was like his favorite drummer. He's like it just blows me away. Like it's so technically, in my opinion, it's technically like makes sense. I don't know. What do you think, Ry?
He has 2 different hi-hats.
Does he?
Does he?
Mm-hmm. He keeps one on the right and one on the left.
And I think they've gotten. I mean, Ryan and I were talking about Doug before you got here. Like we're setting up. Like their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthiness. I mean, they've been around for a long time. They tour relentlessly every year. They're kind of like the entry if you want to get into like jam bands, right? Like they're accessible.
Yeah, they're like the jam band that you go to college now, and their parents are giving the kid money to go see Dave Matthews for the summer,
right?
I totally stopped going to see Dave Matthews Band concerts because of his fans. Like he's got the worst fans in rock and roll. They're all like visor wearing white kids with attitudes. I can't even say they're millennials, dude, because they're from my generation,
right?
But now they moved on to the next college generation,
right? They're kids.
They're kids, and they're like, "Oh, Dave Matthews, man, hippie."
But they've got a couple African American guys in the band, right? So that's like
they have a signature sound.
You're thinking of like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, though. If they're looking for that kind of diversity, they've got to, what's his name? Boyd Tinsley, the violin player. He's just an amazing musician. Yeah, just really, really talented.
That horn player, he passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, but he was like in an ATV accident. Leroy Moore.
Yeah.
And they got a little bit like jazz stuff. I remember like when I was into them, I started getting into like Bella Fleck and all kinds of other.
Well, Bella Fleck opened up for them a few times.
Yeah, I think Ryan, you got me into Bella Fleck when this album came out.
They have a great couple albums, Bella Fleck. They got a great live album out there.
Yeah. I think that's the one I got into.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, this is like the instrumental Dave Matthews Band. Like,
with a bluegrass, bluegrass kind of feel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to hear "Don't Drink the Water"?
Yeah, I do.
That's a great song.
We ain't got time to play the whole song,
Yeah,
but
but-
it gets funky, man.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, and Lance Morsette's on that track.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was reading some notes. Like Leroy Moore wrote most of the arrangements for their stuff, so I don't know if their popularity kind of waned out when he passed away. I don't know.
Maybe, but
Dave will always tour.
Yeah.
I think Dave is strictly an American band. Like he'll tour up and down America a billion times. Do I think he's going to Japan? No. Do I think he's going to Europe? No.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like Fish or the Dead. They're not going to Europe. They're not going to China.
They're one of those staples.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's summertime. I know Buffett's coming. It's summertime.
Sure.
I know Dave Matthews Band
And I
is
just
coming
saw
around.
they're coming to Camden this summer.
Are they?
Yeah.
You can always count on them to come.
Yeah.
Sure.
But dude, Dave Matthews Band played the Vet like 3 or 4 times and sold it out.
Like enormous 50,000,
Yeah, man.
60,000
Like-
seat stadiums.
He played some big places. He played in front of a lot of people, sold a lot of albums. So I think he belongs in there. Or the band,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the band belongs in there.
I mean, he's got longevity on his side, and said he's still touring and still selling tickets. So
I think he's like adopted like the whole jam band world.
Sure.
Like people trade nobody trades anymore, but everybody tapes his live shows. Every show's a different show. So there's like shows that are like famous.
Yeah, and I have the discography pulled in front of me, and it had like a million different. It looks like he has one of those, where like he'll sell the tape, like Pearl Jam does. Like they'll sell the copies, like
Yeah.
soundboard copies of his shows and stuff like that too.
No, he's great to his fans.
Yeah, I think he gets in eventually at some point. It may not be, it's obviously not going to be this year,
right.
but I could see eventually him getting in. All right, we got one left. Man, then the last band was the Funk Brothers, the backing band from Motown, who we also did an entire episode on.
I think these guys get the snub of music, anything. Nobody knows who they are, but everybody has danced to them their whole lives. You know?
Yeah, I completely agree, man.
There was like 8 guys that were the original Funk Brothers. There's like a billion of them playing, but 8 of them changed the world.
And everybody knows that Motown sound, right? Everybody knows those songs. Everybody loves those songs. There's not a lot of people that hate Motown music.
Yeah.
And these guys wrote all of it. It's some of the most famous. They're most famous unheralded backing band in rock and roll.
Like, at home, you ever think about the band that played in all the Motown songs? No, you probably didn't.
Right.
This is the band. They were called the Funk Brothers.
Right. And it was one band that
Right.
played on every one of those songs.
Let's play one of them.
All right. Nowhere to Run. Martha Reeves and the Vandells.
Yeah, man. Now, what was the secret weapon of the Funk Brothers was their bass player.
James Jamerson.
And he was the secret weapon.
Yeah, it's like him and the one other dude are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We talked about this extensively in the whole episode. I forget the drummer's name.
Yeah. But if you want to know more about the Funk Brothers, you can tune into our Motown, Standing in the Shadows of Motown.
Yeah, the whole episode we did on them.
But, nobody knows who the Funk Brother is. And I think they get snubbed by everybody. So this is my chance to put somebody in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to put these guys in the Hall of Fame.
And it's amazing they're not in there already.
It really
It's
is,
amazing.
man, that they've been overlooked.
Like they put the East Street Band in.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Crickets are in.
Sure.
Like there's a whole slew of other other people that are still. I think like the Comets or Bill Haley's
Right.
backing band. There was a one year where they put like a whole shit ton. Like the Miracles went in.
Was
and
that
all
the
these-
first year where they just put, okay, we're
I
putting,
think
we're putting
so.
everybody in?
I think there was just like a big
The same year
group.
the Beatles
yeah.
went in, the Stones, and the Comets.
No, I think there was a year that they made a whole bunch of like band, like Sidekick, like Buddy
okay.
Holly was in,
Right,
but the Crickets weren't, or
in.
Smokey
Gotcha.
was in, and I think they just put all these bands in at once, just to kind of like catch up. But and they skipped over
That's
these
amazing.
guys.
That's amazing.
It really is, man. Like, it's crazy that they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, like the number was like we did the math, man, on like how many like number one songs James Jamerson played on. It was something like
how many records did he sell?
Right, it was like over 100 like top 40 hits or something. It was some like astronomical amount of, the dude played on like I'm pulling up our notes from that episode as we're talking, man. It was like Smokey and Stevie Wonder, Jackson 5, Gladys Knight, the Isley Brothers, the Commodores, Mary Wells, the Temptations, the Four Tops. It was like, and this dude was on a Diana Ross Supreme, and these guys played on every single one of those.
Just one band played on all those records. One band.
Yeah.
That's why they all sound the same. Motown has the Motown sound. The Motown sound.
Sure.
Now, I heard something about Motown this week that I never... The controversy about Motown. Do you ever hear that Motown was accused of making music for white people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Benny Benjamin's the drummer is in. I'm sorry, but
that's cool.
Yeah, dude. I just finished reading a book that I put on our social media page by a guy that writes for the New York Times, and he was saying that Motown was the argument that Motown was music for white people, and that soul music was like the real stuff,
the real deal,
like Stax and everything like that. Like that was like the real deal,
like rhythm and
like
blues.
Otis Redding and shit like that.
R&B was really where it's at, but Motown was just a product.
Well, you think about all those acts; they were all on Bandstand back in the day.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. So who's watching Bandstand? Who was on Bandstand?
Everybody.
Right. We talked about it.
No, meaning like people who were watching it. White people were on Bandstand, and like so that's not so real hard to believe that somebody actually thinks that.
And we were talking about the like they had like the finishing school where like the artists had to learn how to dress and everything, and it's probably like, dude, probably trying to act white.
But they told the musicians like keep it funky,
right?
Like. There was no finishing school for James Jamerson.
Right. Yeah.
There was no finishing school for those dudes.
Right. That was Diana Ross. Right. Yeah. We talked about those guys.
Yeah.
Like Drake.
They were down in the snake pit.
Right.
They call the snake pit like where the recording studio was because there was all the microphone the wires and all
we talked about like James Jamerson being so drunk that he was laying on, like I think on What's Going On. He was so drunk down. He played it on his back.
It's just like, which is one of the most famous bass lines ever.
Yeah. A couple of those guys were like, rolling in like they were, like they climbed out of a dumpster. The guy was like going on benders and all kinds of other shit. But, dude, again, man, another artist that I'm like, how are they getting that wrong? How are they not getting recognized?
I don't know. They even made that documentary about them.
Right.
Standing in the Shadows of Motown.
And that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. And most of them are dead now.
Yeah. Do we have another song?
Yeah, dude, of course. You got Ain't Too Proud to Beg on here by the Temptations.
Let's hear that.
It's all just fantastic music, man. And nobody, even if it's like music for white people, I don't give a shit, man.
No,
it's just great music.
It's soundtrack of people's lives.
Sure.
They were great musicians,
and that music is never going to go away.
No. That is like the Dolly Parton of music, because like everybody loves Motown, man.
Sure,
even if you're like, you can be a heavy metal dude, and you could still, you still dig Motown.
I love Iron Maiden. And I love Motown.
Yeah, right.
I'm that dude.
Yeah, man. All right, so that's it. That's all 10, right?
That's 10. That's our Hall of Fame.
Oh man, we covered a lot of ground.
Can we give one more time our list?
Oh yeah. Just want me to just rattle them off?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, man. Sure. All right. So our 10 artists were Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Dick Dale, Oasis, Thin Lizzy, the Pixies, the Dave Matthews Band, and the Funk Brothers. So we named 10 artists who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we want you guys to tell us, out of all of them, which are the 3 that could get in. So we created a poll that'll have all 10 of them, and it's really simple. You can go in, you can just click 3 that you vote for, and we'll have a link on our show notes. We'll put it on our social media, and I think I can get it up on our website, man, and
awesome.
we'll see where that goes. I think that'd be really interesting to hear,
yeah,
where people go, and I'll
That'd
just start spamming the hell out of it to everybody we know. So we'll take that. All right, man, so we're going to move on to Visiting Hours. So Visiting Hours is a new and somewhat occasional segment on the show that we're testing out on Prisoners of Rock and Roll, where we chat with a guest for a few minutes about the almighty power of music. This week's episode is our friend Jesse Jackson. No, not the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I know, I'm Jesse. I'm sure you hear that all the time. From the Set Lusting Bruce podcast, and he's been talking to Springsteen fans for over 6 years. Jesse, man, thanks for hopping on, spending some time with us tonight.
Well, I had to return the favor because you were on my podcast, and we had such a good time talking. And so I shamelessly said, well, Bruce, if you ever need like a short, fat guy from Texas to talk music, I'm here.
We're like, but I'm a fat guy from Philadelphia, so we're good.
I actually had to change my Twitter to... It is Jesse Jackson DFW because I was getting so many angry tweets, especially during the Black Lives Matter. Like,
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
I hate you. And I'm like, I'm just this white guy from Dallas that's obsessed with Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, my God.
I got the wrong person.
Oh,
that's
my
crazy.
God, that's so... It's funny because it's not me.
I just kind of took it... I mean, it didn't bother me. I just made a point every time. Like, no, wrong Jesse
Wrong
Jackson.
dude.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, wrong guy.
So, man, tell us a little bit about the Set Listing Bruce and tell our listeners.
Yeah, so what it is basically way back over 6 years ago, Bruce Springsteen and I, the movie came out that was all fan-generated, stories about Bruce Springsteen, and I really liked that movie. And Lynette Carolla was Adam Carolla's wife. I think they're in the middle of a divorce, but she did a podcast for like 5 or 6 episodes where she talked to her friends, and they didn't talk about their celebrity, they just talked about their Bruce fandom. And so I decided that would be a fun thing to do. And 800 episodes later, I have talked to Springsteen fans from around the world. I have talked to someone from Russia. I've had South America. I've had Australia. I've had Canada. I've had UK. And basically we just have them on and we just talk about music. And I just had a guy who is a huge Who fan that we ended up spending an hour talking about Who and Bruce, and he just sent me 10 obscure Who songs. He says, hey, listen to these, and then I'll have you back on my podcast to talk about it. So I don't just talk Bruce. I talk any kind of music.
Awesome.
Anyone who's passionate about music. If you have a favorite band, reach out to me, and we'll talk about them on my podcast.
Oh, right on, man. That's really cool. Man, 800 episodes, right? We just did our 36, and we're all proud of ourselves. Like 800.
Now, Bruce and gang, I do have to share. Some of those are little 10 or 15-minute episodes. Like, I decided a couple of years ago, you know how, I don't know if any of you are Catholic, but there's the 40 days of Lent, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I decided, let's do 40 days of Springsteen.
Yeah.
So I did
Nice.
10 or 15-minute snippets, and I'd pick a Springsteen lyric, and I'd talk about it. And I asked my listeners, and 4 or 5 of them did a little segment on there. And I realized that 40 Days of Lent does not include Sundays. So I got to number 40, and I was still like 8 days away from Easter, and I said, "Holy shit!" What? So I had to find some other episodes.
Got to make up the time somewhere. Yeah. That's funny. You and I talked for well over an hour about music, and we talked a lot about like going to concerts and everything. Is there? Yeah. What was the first concert you ever went to?
So I believe, and I'm pretty sure it was Foghat.
Nice.
And ZZ Top. I remember it was in the 70s at the Lake Charles Civic Center. And back then you could smoke inside the building, and as you can imagine, there was a lot of different kind of cigarettes being smoked in 1975 and 76 doing that. That is the first one I can remember. Growing up in Lake Charles, we got a lot of country artists, and so I saw Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson. Speaking of, we saw my wife and I at the time were dating. We saw John Denver twice, and he was the first person that ever was in the round. The stage was the band was all around, and he was on this little thing that slowly turned,
rotated.
So rotated. Yeah, but if I had to pick my top memory from Lake Charles, is in the late 70s. Harry Chapin came to, and it was in the theater, and there was a storm. The weather was horrible, and so his band didn't make it. So when we got in the auditorium, there was a chair, a table with a glass of water, because back then, you didn't have bottles of water. And Harry Chapin came out with his guitar, and I swear he played 3 hours. It probably wasn't, but it felt like, and it was just him and telling stories, and it truly did feel like Harry Chapin had come over to your house and just was hanging out and talking. So that's cool. My earliest strong concert memory.
Very cool. I know you mentioned on our show you go into a couple shows with your kids. Do you have like a really cool like concert moment, like you and your son went to a show and you're like, oh man, this was just like cool bonding over?
Yeah. So a couple. One with my wife. We were dating at the time, and we lived in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and her brother lived in Dallas, Texas. And so we came up to Dallas for like Easter weekend, and Carl Wilson at the time had left the Beach Boys, and he had a solo album called Carl Wilson, and he was touring by himself, and he was at the Agora Ballroom. I did some looking. This was in April of 1981. And I was a huge Beach Boys fan. I still am. So my wife and I left the family, like on Saturday night, and went to the show and got to see that. And that's a highlight.
That's
the biggest the biggest concert. My son and I went to a WrestleMania, like when in Houston, like when Stone Cold and Rock performed.
Sure.
And a lot of people say that's one of the best WrestleMania ever. And so we went to that together, and so WrestleMania was coming to Dallas a few years ago, and instead Chris went with me to go see Bruce Springsteen for the first time in Oklahoma City. And so Chris is like maybe 27, 28, and so after the show I was thinking we'd go get some beers, who knows, maybe go to an adult establishment. It's just him and me. And
right on.
Went, I just want to go to the hotel. I'm exhausted.
Springsteen kicked his ass.
Like the next day, he was just talking about, I've never been to a show like that.
Yeah.
And then later that year, we flew to New York City, and he and I got to go see him at the MetLife Stadium.
Nice.
And at the time, it was one of his longest U.S. shows. He did almost 4 hours. And if you Google it, it ended with Bruce was playing Jersey Girl. A couple got engaged, so he had them come on stage, and he played Jersey Girl. The couple were dancing on stage. There was fireworks, and it was just perfect.
Awesome.
It was just one of those moments.
That's a good fitting end to see in Springsteen in Jersey, ending covering the Tom Waits song. So
exactly, yes.
Really, really cool. You ever gone to a show that was just like god awful?
A couple times it's usually sound, right? Like you go and it's a bad mix.
Yeah.
I've, and I can't think specifically who it was, but I know there have been times when we went and you're just like, I can't understand anything this band is saying. So not too many disappointment. I know the closest it came was we were going to see Elton John and Billy Joel. They were supposed to perform together, and it was raining. We got stuck in traffic, and when we finally got to the venue, it was one of those outdoor venues where there's underneath and there's the lawn.
Yeah.
And we were so late that we were like at the very back of the field where even the big screen looked like a postage stamp. And I was in such a bad mood that our friends didn't want to leave earlier and all this stuff that I cannot remember anything about the show. And I now think about, holy crap. I mean, Billy Joel, Elton John together, that should have been awesome.
Yeah.
And instead, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see that show?
Yeah.
Did you?
I went to the original show at Veterans Stadium.
Like the first
in
time they did it?
1994,
Yeah.
I believe it was, 95. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was the first time
saw,
they did that.
I never saw it. I know they came around a couple times that I never went.
The second time it came around, me and Ryan just got a 30-pack and a pizza and sat in the Eagles parking lot, and we had a blast.
And just listened to it
was
through the
great.
outside?
Yeah, it was great.
That's rock and roll,
It
man.
was, man.
I've seen Billy Joel a couple of times. I've never seen Elton, and I would like to.
Elton's great.
But it's expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Elton, it's worth the
Just-
money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I bet it is.
You could just say, I saw Elton.
Yeah.
You could just
Exactly.
spend the money and
Yes.
see him.
Elton played
Yeah.
the Parkway for our 4th of July one year, and that's usually a free show. That was something really to see. Like, see on the Parkway, right on the Art Museum steps. That was a good time. It was
Yeah.
a good 45-minute show.
Yeah.
It was
I
free.
A couple other thoughts you had kind of told me. Linda Ronstadt and the Neville Brothers came to Dallas right after she had done her album with Aaron Neville singing
Yeah.
in the background. That was an amazing show. The Neville Brothers by themselves were really good. Then Linda Ronstadt is just, I mean, this was kind of in the middle 80s, I guess late 80s, early 90s. And it just, her power, her voice, seeing that, and the amount of damn hits she had, it was just amazing. That was a really great show. The other one that was really emotional, Brian Wilson is, if Bruce Springsteen and Brian Wilson are my two biggest, I guess, musical obsessions, the people that I admire the most. And Brian Wilson it's widely known, a lot of mental issues, a lot of health issues. And so it was, he had gotten his shit together, and they were touring Pet Sounds Alive this first time. And now then Brian tours a lot, but at the time it was a big deal. And we ended up, a friend of mine had a connection, and Linda and I got like first row tickets to watch Brian Wilson live, and to see him so happy and to see him performing and seeming like he enjoyed, when I've seen other times with him without the Beach Boys without him, or him looking like he wanted to be anywhere else, made me cry.
Yeah, wow.
And,
wow, first row, too, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then I had a work trip where we had an office in Winnipeg, Canada, and Brian Wilson was playing in Winnipeg, and I arranged my trip just so I could go. I mean, I usually went to the Winnipeg office at least once a year, but I timed it so that I got to go hear Brian in Winnipeg, Canada, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, hey, if you got to go there, might as well work some rock and roll into it, right?
Exactly.
The thriving metropolis of Winnipeg, Canada. So
exactly.
Awesome. So if people want to check out Set Listing Bruce, man, how can they find you?
So I am on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can find Set Listing Bruce anywhere you can find podcasts. Even if you don't like Bruce Springsteen, sample a few episodes. Go through some such. I'm really proud. I just had Brian Koppelman on, the co-creator of Billions. He is a huge Springsteen fan. He tells some great stories. I have Jude Gold was just on there. He is the guitarist for Jefferson Starship. Of course, none of the original band members are there anymore, but they're touring. And he had some fun stories. So, and coming up this week, I have a member of Parliament.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
Which I was like, how cool is this?
That's really cool, dude.
And I actually Googled, and when he won election in he's like Manchester is his district. The paper, in his acceptance speech, he quoted Bruce. He said, "Nobody wins unless everybody wins." And
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
Okay, how cool is it? We need more politicians that quote Bruce.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
Not only do I want you to come listen to the podcast, but I want anyone listening to this, if you are passionate about any band. I've had people that love Leonard Cohen. I've had people that love the Bee Gees. Just let me know. Reach out to me, setlistingbruce@gmail.com. and let's get you on the show.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for jumping on with for a couple minutes. It's always good to talk to you about rock and roll, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
I hope so. And hey, your brothers, they need to be on the show, right? Yeah. Okay.
There you go. All right, guys.
I want to do the trio, right? I got to make that trick.
No
Awesome.
worries. We'll do it up.
All right, Jesse.
Thanks,
we'll talk to you
guys.
soon.
Jesse,
Thanks,
thank
man.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Keep
Take
on
care.
rocking, brother.
See ya. All right, second thoughts. So we got some feedback from a new listener on our Guitar Picks episode, which was episode 24. Sean from Atlanta said, I listened to your Guitar Picks show. Very informative. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe there wasn't at least an honorable mention for Zach Wilde or Mark Tremonti. That guy is unbelievably gifted and mechanically sound. He's not some big over-the-top guitar player. He's really low-key and lets his music do the talking. You also barely said a word about Clapton. Mark Tremonti's in Alter Bridge.
Okay.
And
I'm not too familiar with their music.
I wasn't. I had to text him back and be like, "That's dude from Alter
Creed.
Bridge."
He's in Creed.
Creed, yeah.
Oh, really?
And Zach Wilde was like, "Yeah, of course."
Yeah.
No.
Dude, Zach Wilde's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy seeing him play every time I see him.
Yeah.
Like he's amazing.
Yeah, we could only get so far. So we also got a tweet. So a guy, Adam from Twitter. I just finished your episode on Bowie. He did play the sax on Changes, but that's actually David Sanborn playing sax on Young Americans. Ziggy played guitar, but Bowie played the sax.
Nice.
So, all right, man, appreciate that. And you didn't blow us up like Comic Book Guy for getting that wrong. That was it for feedback. Music news. All right, I got a couple. The first one, man, this really bummed me out, man. That was Mark Lanigan passing away. So
it's a
Mark
bummer.
Lanigan, the singer for the Screaming Trees, Queens of the Stone Age, the Gutter Twins. He put out 1 million solo albums. He died at 57. And the Screaming Trees are one of those bands. They never got as big as some of those other bands from the Seattle, but they were like one of the first ones.
Yeah.
I really, really liked his voice. I thought it was like, I said something on our Twitter page. It was like he chain smoked, but he didn't get that like raspy kind of like like our old boss at Sam Goody.
Yeah.
It was like a smooth kind of sound.
I never got into the Screaming Trees. I knew they were a great band. They got street rep.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame that he died.
Yeah, I really like them. Hang on, there's a song I want to play.
Yeah, let's play a song in his honor.
So you can play some Screaming Tree stuff, but here's a really interesting song. He actually covered Where Did You Sleep Last Night with Kurt Cobain before the MTV Unplugged.
Oh, wow.
And they said Nirvana actually asked him to come and sit in on the MTV Unplugged, and he didn't do it. But so this is from a couple years before the MTV Unplugged. This is him and Kurt Cobain singing together.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the Screaming Tree stuff a little bit more than some of his solo stuff. But yeah, dude, they were a cool band, and he was, I don't know, he's like one of the last men standing.
One of the last Mohicans from
right.
From that grunge era.
From that grunge era. That's really, really bummer, man, that he passed away. And then the next story we've got. So Green Day canceled a show in Moscow. So Green Day canceled an upcoming show in Moscow amid Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, saying that, quote, this moment is not about stadium rock shows. The band was supposed to play an estimated 45,000-seat stadium in May. Meanwhile, Twisted Sisters frontman Dee Snider took to Twitter and said he fully supports Ukrainians using "we're not going to take it" as a battle cry. And I copied one of his tweets. I absolutely approve of Ukrainians using "we're not going to take it" as their battle cry. My grandfather was Ukrainian before it was swallowed up by the USSR after World War II. This can't happen to these people ever again. Hashtag fuck Russia.
Yeah.
So,
I love D.
and then you said like Madonna made some shitty
Did she
video.
really?
Like if we could make a list of people we would send over there.
She's like, in the video, she's like wearing a smock. And she's like saying she's sorry.
Did they make a video?
It was like, just like her, like, with a smock on, and then like saying she was sorry because the Ukraine people are, which I feel for, don't get me
Sure.
wrong. But she's just making it about herself.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a
That's what I'm
fuck what
saying.
Madonna thinks? Go out there and start handing out, like, meals to these poor people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're
She's
gonna
a
have
slob.
you're gonna have all these celebrities coming out and posturing and all this other garbage.
It's only like 6 days in as we speak, so I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah. All right, so it's time for the electric chair, and the electric chair is a segment we do every week where we take a song that's absolutely terrible and we sentence it to death. And in honor of this being our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame episode, man, we've decided we're going to kill Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. I'm so sorry, guys. When we started this, I said we weren't going to play any more
From Kate Bush.
but we
I
have
never get
to.
tired of killing her. You guys were like, "Oh, we never killed a Kate Bush song." I'm like, "Well,
We just talk enough shit on it.
Yeah.
Dude,
We
that's-
have like this whole campaign against
like listen to
Kate
that."
Bush.
We're like the rebels of like, because there's a couple shows on Pantheon that are like, that's all they do.
They was
talk
talk about Kate Bush.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, Rich at the bar, little Rich.
Yeah.
He said
Rich
to me
Sinner,
at the bar, he was like, I don't even know who Kate Bush is, but I hate her.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. We have influence on Rich. I don't know who he is, but I fucking hate her.
Again, this the power of radio.
Yeah.
It's so, here, let's play it. Listen to it for a couple seconds.
Here you go, Rich. It sounds so fake.
God, like fairy tale land.
Dude, and there's like, and I guess from like, you tag me in all these fucking
I
pictures of
do,
her.
because it's funny.
And now so many of them show up on my like ads on my Facebook page. Like on like, it's just like my feed is just a stream of Kate Bush pictures.
That's because that's what I have time to
It
do.
Oh my god.
Can we start a campaign like fuck Kate Bush? Like
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
Wizards of
I
rock
thought-
and roll.
I thought we were already doing that.
We come out with stickers.
That's
and
like our whole
T-shirts.
She probably loves our show.
Yeah, I don't. Okay.
Let's just
All
give
right,
her.
Yeah, let's
give it to her.
All right.
We sentence you to death.
for some
You know
reason.
it is. You know that bitch got 9 lives. She's gonna pop up again.
I know. For some reason, I feel like we're going to talk about her again
We have a
eventually.
whole discography of people we can get rid of. I mean, hey, we did Rush Suck. We'll have to do one on her. I just
No, I don't
can't-
think I can.
I can't even. I don't understand.
No,
I just don't
I don't
understand the
understand it.
popularity of
Nope.
it. And every time there's a picture of her online, all these people are like, "She's beautiful and so much creative music." And I was like, "Dude, her voice is just. I want to fucking smash my face against the desk."
She looks like she smells.
like
cat
urine.
piss.
Yeah. All right, everybody, that's it for the rock and roll picks. Thanks so much, man, for spending the last 2 hours with us. We hope you had fun and you learned something. And definitely go on our social media or prisonersofrockandroll.com and vote for these picks. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We'll bring up the results in a couple episodes. Yeah, so you can check us out. I already gave our website address. You can check us out on Twitter or on Facebook. If you've got something to say, you got some feedback, man, send it in to us. We love hearing from everybody. We try to talk. We try to read as many of the comments as we can online. As you hear, we have the Second Thought segment. And that's it, man. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Keep on rocking. Peace out.
I'm just a prisoner.